Amazing, 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 my beloved people. Mr. Latest Reason Together is back again. And what are we looking into today? The big headed ugly boy or man is here with you. And what are we looking into today? Today I would wish us to look into the issue of the temple. I've had very many people defend their churches and say even God instructed David to construct him a temple, so that is why we're building all these buildings we call churches. But again, what's the difference between a temple and a church? I'm not against the buildings we call churches. I'm just against what happens in those buildings. If there's no true worship of God in those buildings, then they're just shrines. So I'm against the shrines that have been put up for the sake of or to aid in the stealing from people in the name of God. And it made me go back to do some studies, and you can help me on that to see whether my studies are right or wrong. There was only one temple in Israel, the whole of Israel. That is the temple in Jerusalem. There were no other temples of God were in Caesarea, wherever on all those places. Name all those places. There's only one temple. That is the temple in Jerusalem. That is the main place where everyone went to worship. The central place of worship. So if they wanted to worship God, they go to that place, and that is the only place where the presence of God was. That's where the Ark of the Covenant was stored, showing the presence or proving the presence of God to the children of Israel. So that is the only place the Ark of the Covenant was kept. So everyone was to gather there and worship once in a year. They could gather there for whatever feast, then wait for the next again, gather there for the feast and all that. So there was no any other place they could go if not in Jerusalem, in the temple in Jerusalem. That temple was destroyed several times by the people who attacked Israel, the Babylonians and the Romans. They destroyed it. So the temple is no longer up again. The people are thinking of putting up the third temple, but yet there are rumors that the third temple is up again. That is in the very shape that of the old temple. But that is not what I wanted us to talk about today, whether the third one is there or not. What I want us to talk about today is the issue of mushrooming churches that are coming up, buildings that are coming up in the name of churches. But if you truly look into them, you can't see the need. Okay, you can't really see the worship of God in those buildings, wherever they are mushrooming at. And it left me asking very many questions. Is this really what God wants us to do, or there's a different way God wanted us to worship Him? And then that draws us back to the story of Jesus and the Samaritan woman, when they're having a conversation about the worship and where to worship. And the Samaritan woman tells Jesus, for us, the Samaritans, we worship on this mountain, forefathers worshipped here, that's what we worship. And for you Jews, you got to go to Jerusalem to worship. And Jesus tells her, no, the time is coming and the time is now when the true worshippers wouldn't need to go to Jerusalem to worship, or wouldn't need to face this mountain to worship, but they will worship the Father in truth and in spirit. So there is a leeway of us worshiping God, and that is in truth and in spirit. That means that in every place that we're in, we can worship God. We can worship God, whether we're walking on the streets, whether we are in traveling, in planes traveling, whether we are in vehicles traveling, whether we're seated somewhere relaxing under a tree, in a house, wherever place, you can still worship God, and God will listen to you and will answer your prayers. Like, we don't really need to have a specific place where we go. We don't need a Jerusalem where we go every day or every specific time of the year or of the week to worship, of which I'm not trying to say those places are not good. What I'm trying to say is, like, we should not make it a religious way of us looking unto it and worshiping God in that place. I know most of the times during the weekdays, everyone is at work. People are working and people are doing some few things here and there. And it's only on Sunday when most people have got some time to go and gather together and to worship. That is what Paul says, we should not forsake the gathering of the saints. So it's on Sunday when people have that time to gather from different places to come and worship. But again, is that gathering the worship, the true worship or not? Or it's just a gathering of a familiarity or a formal way of people coming together for that? That's a topic for another day when we'll be talking about, is it truly what people really want us to do in the same or the other things that are happening over there? So someone needs to help me on this. If there was only temple in Jerusalem, one temple that was in Jerusalem, that all the Israelites would gather one time or given moments in the year to get worship there, and there was no other, smaller temples to represent, like that will pour into the main temple in Jerusalem or to represent the presence of God. And the communication, the conversation with Jesus and the Samaritan woman, when Jesus tells the woman, people no longer go to Jerusalem to worship. You just need to, they will be worshiping God in truth and spirit, like the true worshippers will worship God in truth and spirit. That is cutting down the traveling or the normal traveling from, whatever places you're in to Jerusalem to worship. Is there any better way we can make our worship? All these buildings we see, Mabati buildings, whatever, magnificent buildings as people say, are they really necessary, or are they the only thing we need for us to be sure that what we're doing is the right thing? I'm still learning from God on that. It just I'm sorry today I had to bring this topic or talk about it before I finish the lesson, but I'm learning, and I would like to hear from you. What do you think about that? How do you think about that? That there was one temple in the whole of Israel that was in Jerusalem, where all the Israelites, the Jews, would go there once in a while to given points in the year to worship. And now we have all these mushrooming churches that people are comparing to that temple in Jerusalem everywhere, and everyone has their own followers. It's good that all the Israelites would gather in that temple once at a given point in the year, so there was no other Israelites going to the other one, other ones going to the other one with different doctrines. No, it was just one. What if the church can unite to that level? Just to have one church in every city, one church of Christ in every city, just the way we had one, with the right doctrine, one church in every city with the right doctrines. That is, in Nairobi we only have one church where every Christian gathers on whatever day they are free to go and worship. In Eldoret the same, Nakuru the same. Name all these cities that it's just one. Go to other countries, the same happens in Abuja, wherever, Lagos, wherever, US, whatever places, they just have one place where people go to worship God. In different times of the year, different times of the week, different days of the week. Just a thought, nothing more.